Hey everyone, and welcome to this Shipper Update. I'm Zach Strickland here with lead economist Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, we've got a lot of consumer demand, right?
We do. We have a lot of consumer demand, and typically on the beginning of the week, we do like a weekly outlook of the economic releases that are going to be really anticipated and expectations. But we had President's Day yesterday, and we were off, so we're going to jump into what this chart might mean in the upcoming releases. So this week, we a little bit light on this release week. So we have consumer spending, which is also known as personal consumption expenditures, if you want to be fancy. And if you look at this, it's really going to be a good indication of freight demand, because when you look at the durable goods aspect, because you can do non-durable goods and durable goods, both of them, but those are going to have correlations for actual goods moving throughout the country. Now, of course, there's going to be a little bit lagged because it's a monthly indicator, not like our daily indicator. And Sonar, our Van Outbound Tender Volume Index, go check it out, votvi.usa, no big deal. And when we look at the two together, it really tells a great story of like, all right, there's increasing durable goods moving throughout the country. There's also increasing freight volumes as well. Now, this is one that I'm kind of going to go into a little bit more because we also have consumer confidence coming out this week. And Zach, I really was, I gotta really talk. I was really on board with consumer confidence, consumer sentiment, because it had meaningful impacts. And since I've really seen this economic cycle, I've leaned further and further away. Not that it's not a meaningful index or that it's not insightful, because it is, and it tells us a lot about what's going on in the minds of the consumers. But for some time, we've seen lows and lows and lows hit on consumer confidence and consumer sentiment, but really we still see the consumers showing up. And so really that can't be the end-all indicator for consumer confidence. We have to look at other things as well, not just consumer sentiment, not just consumer confidence, but also the real world results. And one that I also like to look at from time to time, of course, is quit rates. And so that's one I've always kind of monitored from time to time as well.
Now hold up a second. Now you just said that all on camera.
Yeah.
And just said that, wait, we need to watch what people do?
Yeah, actions speak louder than words.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Y'all heard it.
Actions speak louder than words, you heard it here. So this is gonna be important, but moving into our next chart for sure, consumer conditions, and this is what it all comes down to. So weekly initial jobs claims is going to be one of the job market indicators that should be kind of watched and monitored somewhat closely. But it's weekly, so it's going to have some volatile movements. It might move up, might move down. As long as it stays under 300,000, I think we're A-okay. It can drop down to as low as 190s, I guess, from a few weeks ago or about a month ago, which is a little bit strange, a little bit seasonal variations, but if it stays within that mid 200,000s band, that's just fine. So we're going to be watching this one closely because the consumer is going to be able to move and navigate right now in accordance to their job market opportunities. And consumer demand is like speed in sports. It covers up for a lot of accidents, shortcomings. So
right.
If you have speed, you can really kind of make up for a lot of mistakes. So moving into our next chart here, of course, we're going to look at job openings, because on the other side of the report is the quit rates. Quit rates are still high. Consumers are feeling confident about leaving and their options to get out there. Job openings are still through the roof, so if they don't like what they're doing, they can just shift into something else. And that's really going to be the big thing here, is consumers having that optionality to opt into something else. And because of that, that consumer demand cycle is going to be kind of extended a little bit longer. Although we are seeing that, of course, wage increases are eaten up by inflationary increases as well. Also, the other big thing that we're seeing from those consumer sides is that this increase sometimes isn't going to be in some of the jobs that a lot of consumers want. So that's going to be another thing to monitor as well, because some of them are going to be services, hospitality, things like that. But there's a lot of different factors, a lot of different variables going into this one. Moving into our next chart here, real quick, this is one that we haven't talked to in some time, but it's still going to be an interesting one to look at for consumer outlook and sentiment. It's going to be the Home Purchasing Sentiment Index from the good folks over at Fannie Mae. Really, this is a gauge on how consumers feel on whether or not it's a good or a bad time to buy a house. As you can see, this has been very much low and it's hit all-time lows on different components of like, is this a good time to buy a house? Is it a good time to sell a house? So they get separated out into two different segments. Now, the good time to buy a house hit an all-time low because, of course, price increases for a lot of those homes. So people aren't that optimistic about making those purchases, but they are still looking to make purchases nonetheless. The other big thing, of course, On the other side, credit card spending. So consumer conditions are really kind of starting to get tighter and tighter. You're starting to see consumer savings rates kind of start to waver a little bit, see credit card usage really go up, and you're starting to see demand for some of these big ticket items go down just because some of them aren't as affordable.
Yeah, you're starting to paint this picture of somebody that's got some sort of compulsory spending habit here,
Yes.
the American consumer. It's almost like, I know that I shouldn't, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway.
Anyone can, the American consumer can.
Yeah, and of course they know they're starting to get hesitant about buying a house, which is a big one to watch in the future. Well, thank you so much, Anthony Smith. We'll toss it back to Mike and Kevin.
Thank you so much, Zach and Anthony.